All right, welcome to another edition of the Franklin Community High School Career Exploration Project. Today, I am joined by Mr. Stephen Woods. He is a financial advisor and wealth management specialist at Raymond James. He also has an interesting side hustle that he'll probably talk about a little bit too. So, Stephen, first of all, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your role with Raymond James, what you do, kind of how you got into that role, and also the little side hustle you got going on as well.
Yeah, so I'm a financial advisor, and I work primarily with individuals, although we have some companies and nonprofits that we work with. But essentially, if you are younger, like you and I, Brian, we try to help people get themselves into a position where they're going to have the best chance of success for retirement. So we consult on how to acquire assets, how much you need to try to put away each year. We look at your debt or your liabilities, and we figure out how we can minimize debt and pay that debt off faster. And then when you get into retirement, we look at how we can maximize your retirement cash flow so you can kind of live the life that you want. We work our entire lives. And then when we retire, we want to be able to enjoy that money. So what I try to do is walk that line between letting people take those bucket list type trips and still protect enough assets. And what we really try to do is not have too much money at risk in the market. Last March, you probably remember the value of your 403B dipped about 35%. You didn't lose any money because you didn't sell anything, I'm suspecting. Right. And then by the end of the year, it had all rebounded. So yeah. I'm part psychologist in that respect, where you've got clients that call you up and they're in a complete panic. And we've got to kind of talk them off the ledge or maybe reevaluate what their risk tolerance is. But at the end of the day, we try to put people in the very best financial shape that they can be in. And that is unbelievably satisfying. I think from just a very core standpoint, I've always loved money. I used to count my change jar, and I would save money from summer jobs and count that like a miser. And then helping people, that has been a thread kind of throughout my career. And this kind of brings everything together. So.
Yeah.
They always say if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life, and I kind of feel very fortunate that I'm in one of those situations.
Yeah. Now you, I guess, what kind of education and training did you have to get here, and have you always been at Raymond James?
No. So I, after I graduated from Franklin High School in 1989, I went to Wabash College, and I was an English and philosophy major there. How that kind of impacts my job now is I talk a lot about stories, and I try to create analogies that help people kind of understand how their money can work for them and what potential pitfalls we're trying to avoid. So I think in a certain respect that helps, versus if I were purely a numbers guy, a lot of people have trouble grasping that. So I think that stories kind of help folks understand and kind of internalize what we're trying to do from a risk management standpoint.
Right.
Prior to that, I had a long-term care insurance agency, which protects people once they have a need to go into a nursing home or an assisted living facility. And that product really protected your assets. I moved over to financial advising because then I could really provide guidance on a much greater scale. Instead of having just a couple arrows in my quiver, now I've got, a quiver full of solutions.
Yeah. So I know you said you were always into money and counting your money and things. So I guess what led you into this field out of I don't mean for this to sound rude, but I guess why did you major in English and not like finance or business or anything? Have you thought of that, or was that just something?
Originally, I was thinking I was going to go to law school.
Okay.
And if you go to law school, or even I've got friends that are doctors that were English majors. The rub on Wabash is that we're a liberal arts institution that that prepares you really for nothing, but gives you the tools to be a critical thinker, and the ability to be kind of a lifelong learner. And I think liberal arts schools, whether it be Franklin, DePauw, Hanover, any of the schools around here, they kind of give you those tools. I just thought I was going to go in another path. After college, I actually moved to Texas and worked as worked in sports marketing.
Oh yeah,
for a while, and then moved back and kind of came, on a different path, one that I didn't necessarily expect. I wasn't one of those people that had a laser-sighted focus on where I wanted to be graduating high school or even college. But I think that as long as you go and get those degrees, you're going to have a lot more opportunities open to you. Now, my wife, on the other hand, always knew she wanted to be an attorney, and she had that laser focus, and she's an attorney. Not everybody is like that, and I don't necessarily think that success has one clear path, and a lot of times it gets opened up by different people that you meet, different experiences that you have, and kind of pushes you in certain directions that in the end kind of all work out for you.
Right. So you've got, obviously you talked about how much you do enjoy your job. And you said, if you enjoy what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. For you, what are some of the things that you enjoy? I mean, you talked about helping people, you talked about you to work with money. And then what are some of the things that aren't so great about the job? Some things like some of the cons.
Just today, I had 2 different conversations with widows on some kind of tough concepts of, we need to get your accounts in order for your eventual passing. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't like thinking about their own death. We need to have those conversations. They're difficult to have in order for accounts to flow in a certain direction, in order to protect money for that eventual, need maybe for long-term care. They're going to have to start spending down a lot of money. So we can't take a lot of risk with that. So a lot of times I have to have those conversations with respect to getting your estate plan in order to make sure that a child is appointed as a power of attorney when that person can make financial decisions for them. Even though they're not at that point right now, it's really important to have that conversation before it needs to happen. I always talk about let's have the luxury of choice versus the necessity of decision. And if we have those conversations on the front end, it just becomes a little bit easier. So that would be a con of, talking about somebody's, mortality, and nobody wants to think about that. But that's really kind of part of our job, is to make sure that their estate plan, that their life insurance is in order, and different things like that.
Yeah, definitely. As far as like personality, you seem like an outgoing, very, very open to learning type of person. And so what kind of traits do you think you have that make you successful in this? And what kind of, if you were to see someone kind of walking in to Raymond James for the first day, and you talk to them and you could say, I don't think this person's going to be very successful because blank.
If you're not a people person, mm-hmm. You've got to love, I mean, especially now in the COVID times, you've got to love picking up the phone and having conversations. I may have a half-hour conversation and 5 minutes may be devoted towards their financial situation. I talked to a 92-year-old woman today. For the first 25 minutes, we talked about her health concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And being empathetic and being a good listener and actually caring, I think are very important traits. She didn't have a big account. She liked me, and she directed her son, who has a very large account, over to us. And the only reason I got that was because I took the time to listen to her and try to help her with what she needed. And that turned into an opportunity that is better from a financial standpoint for us, but we really don't look at it like that. I try to utilize that golden rule, and you treat everybody the way that you would want to be treated, how I would want my mother to be treated if she was talking to an advisor. And if you do that, kind of good things come back to you. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're not a people person, if you can't relate to people, I think this would be a very difficult job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you are looking at like a high school student right now, how would you think for this career, for your career in financial advising, anything along that line, how would they best start preparing right now for this?
I think applying to a college or university, if they knew they wanted to go in this path, a lot of schools will offer certifications in it's a CFP, a Certified Financial Planner, that I know Purdue provides that as a class. I would have to take it and basically block out 2 years of my life in order to get it now.
Uh-huh.
And because of my side hustle, that would almost be impossible, given the fact that I still have a family. I'm married. I've got 3 kids. I've got this job, and then my officiating. Like, I've only got so much time in the day. But having, if they are that laser focused, looking at programs that will help them get to that next level is important.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned your side hustle. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that, because that is a very cool side hustle. I'm looking at a side hustle this summer. I'm going to be pushing carts at Walmart. Yours is a little bit cooler than that, I think. So why don't you talk about your side hustle and kind of how that came about?
So I played football at Wabash. I played all through high school, started way back in Bantam League. I've always loved football. In 1999, a guy named Jeff Batts asked me out of the blue, "Hey, did you ever think about officiating?" And I never did. And so he got me involved in officiating back in 99, and I started doing those same, Pop Warner games, 7th and 8th grade games, and I really liked it. Fast forward to 2017, I got hired in the NFL. So this is a crazy opportunity to mesh your hobby or your passion that also pays you money. I obviously make more money now than I did working little kids games, but that passion is kind of that thread. Now, I've got a lot of buddies that love to play golf. Well, they're going to drop $150 every weekend. I get to do the same thing and follow my passion, but I walk home with a check. But that was not an overnight deal. I worked from 99 all the way to 2007, working little kids games, working high school games, and working a Division III college game on Saturday. In 2008, I got hired into the Mid-American Conference, where Ball State plays. I worked that for 4 years. I got hired into the Big Ten after that, and I worked in the Big Ten for 5 years. So, I've had the opportunity to work games where you got, 20 parents in the stands yelling at you, to Ohio State, Michigan, where there's 100,000 people in the stands. And now I work in the NFL, where I get to go to Lambeau Field. and and some of those just unbelievable atmospheres. So very, very fortunate, but that kind of allows me to continue pursuing that passion, and I'll do that as long as my body will let me.
Yeah. Now, the first time you got on the NFL field, were you kind of in awe? Was like it just the level of quick speed and athleticism? Was that just totally above anything you've ever experienced?
Yeah, the what kind of helped prepare me is that the Big Ten, over half of our stadiums have 100,000 people in them. So if you can work there in that kind of atmosphere, moving into the professional stadiums, we usually have about 65,000. So the crowd wasn't an issue. The play was head and shoulders above what I saw in college. Even I worked Alabama games and things like that. The very worst player in the NFL and the very worst team is still an NFL player.
Yeah.
And when you look at what Alabama, Clemson, whomever, not every one of those players is going to make it in the NFL. So the speed, the technique, the abilities are second to none. And I'm standing on a field with some of the very best athletes in the world, and watching them make plays is just amazing. And I have to try to remain very focused and watch what I'm doing and not get awed by the fact that Aaron Rodgers is coming up complaining to me, or J.J. Watt is yelling at me because he got held the last play. You got to kind of maintain that focus. But that was probably one of the bigger steps, is seeing these people that you've watched on Sundays. Now they're coming to you, yelling at you, and certainly at the beginning you would get kind of awed, but now they kind of know you, and they're like, Steve, come on, man. Like they're holding me. It's like, hey, relax. I'll keep watching. Just keep working, JJ. It's good. So that's kind of a little bit surreal. But at the end of the day, those guys are still just kids. I'm almost 50 years old. They're in their early to mid 20s, maybe 30s. And, at the end of the day, they're just kind of funny kids, which isn't all that different from when I was working, the lower leagues.
Yeah. Do you have your business card for Raymond James in your back pockets?
Yeah. So the NFL obviously is very concerned with any even hint of impropriety.
Yeah.
So I can't work with any people in the league. I've gotten to know Chuck Pagano, who is the old coach of the Colts. He's now retired. I suppose I could call him up. But I don't know that I would even look to kind of pierce that veil. I want to try to keep those things really separate.
Look, JJ, I know you've got a contract coming up. Listen, that hold, you want it called, you call me. Okay.
Maybe after he retired. I know he got 23 million guaranteed, so he's going to have some money to invest.
He needs your help. Okay.
Maybe.
I mean, you like helping people. You like working with money. It seems like a natural fit to me.
It could be. I could maybe do that and then lose my gig here at the NFL, but
maybe
after he's off the field.
Give yourself a little more time. All right, I'm going to get you out of here on this one. Just general advice to high school students, not even necessarily career, just general advice for high school kids.
I think be patient. You don't have to have a crystal clear idea of what you want to do. But the more education that you have, the more opportunities that you're going to have. You could be on a pre-med track and figure out that you want to be a plumber. That's great. But now you've got those options. And I have several plumbers that are clients that do very, very well. So being open to the possibilities of what your future holds, I think, gives you a lot more choices in your career. And and you will get kind of pushed, and you may discover passions even after you graduate from college. So I would just say be open to that. If you can get great grades, you can do anything that you want to do. And that's what I tell my kids. Like, your job right now as a high schooler or a college student, your job is to get good grades. You do that well, you're going to have, all the opportunities that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. It's taking care of your business, right, that you've got right in front of you. That's what it's all about. So once again, Stephen, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for joining us. Stephen Woods, financial advisor and wealth management specialist at Raymond James, and also NFL official as his side hustle, and JJ Watts, potential financial advisor maybe someday. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thanks.